Hello, and welcome back to Culture Conversations, the vodcast where we poke around the big ideas behind workplace culture, behaviour, leadership and performance.
I'm Macdara.
And I'm George, and we're the co-founders of Polaris Praxis. And this is episode 2. And today we're talking about something that sounds simple, but is actually a leadership superpower. And that's professional curiosity.
Why does it matter at work? How do you put it into practice? And how do you do it regularly without seeming a bit, nosy?
And are we going to pass up on the opportunity for a Curious George pun?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, moving on swiftly. Plus, we'll get to some cracking questions from you guys towards the end. So, let's dive in. So, what is professional curiosity?
I'm glad you asked, George. So let's start with a definition. So professional curiosity is really an intentional desire to understand what's really going on. So that, would be in teams, in processes, in systems, and going past those assumptions or conclusions, where we pretend that we already know what's going on.
Right, so it's the opposite of lazy certainty. It's saying, maybe there's more here than I realise.
Exactly. To give an example, I took over a department with a team that had a reputation for being a bit lazy and not performing very well. What I found when I spoke to that team and the individuals within it and asked the question, what's getting in your way? What actually came out was that they were being hamstrung by a litany of technical issues in their systems and processes that they were struggling to get buy-in to have those fixed. And also, as a lot of teams do, they had ended up picking up a lot of work from other areas and teams that really didn't sit with them or shouldn't really have belonged to them, but that they, with the best will in the world, had taken on. So really, no one was addressing either of these issues, and in a way, it wasn't the fault of that team.
Okay, and that's it. So a simple kind of well-timed question from a leader can change the perception and the whole conversation.
Exactly. So moving on a little, or delving a bit deeper, why does it matter?
So for me, professional curiosity builds trust. It helps you to make better decisions, and it stops you from reacting based on bad assumptions.
Exactly. And it's also important, as we know, George, to create that psychological safety. So where people feel comfortable to speak up, that they understand you're not just looking to confirm your own ideas and that you've already made your mind up, that actually there is an opportunity to change your mind from the questions you're asking.
Yeah, and we sometimes say that curiosity is a bit like being a workplace detective, but the friendly kind. So, not the one who shows up with a clipboard, bangs the desk and leads with a default position of suspicion. And there's something we see all the time in leadership, and it's called the curse of knowledge. And it sounds like a spell from Harry Potter, but it's actually just your brain being a bit smug.
Curious George and Harry Potter in one episode, George. I didn't think I'd see that. But yeah, it's a great way of putting it. I think sometimes when we know something, it's very difficult to unknow it or to imagine ourselves outside of that knowledge. And it's really important that we all try to do that we try to step outside of that idea and that we don't oversimplify things and shut down conversations when really we should be opening them up.
Yeah, and that stifles thought, because you think the thinking's already been done, and it kills improvement because no one wants to challenge, what the boss already knows.
Exactly. And professional curiosity, to use your Harry Potter curse, it breaks that curse. So it says, even though I do know some of this stuff. I'm open to learning. I'm open to hearing what you have to say.
Yeah. Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. So how about the how?
Yeah, so we've had a look at this and we've been chatting about it, and a few tools that that we've both used successfully down through the years are, one is around asking obviously the right types of questions. One that I've found to be effective is to say, what might I be missing? It's quite an open-ended question. It's showing that you don't believe that you have all of the answers, and you're resisting your own bias to kind of close the conversation. So that's definitely been a powerful one, and I think one that people respond to quite well. Along the same lines, using open questions. So, can you talk me through why you did it that way? Why did you do that? And being very broad in your questions, and not trying to narrow things down, giving people that opportunity to speak freely and openly. And another tool is being comfortable not having the answers. So pausing for a moment, not rushing in behind something, taking that time to clearly demonstrate that you don't have an answer and you're thinking, or that maybe you need more input. That pause might give somebody else the opportunity to speak up.
Okay, so let me play this out, right? So someone on your team misses a deadline. You could say, what the hell went wrong here? Or you could say, can you tell me what was going on for you this week?
Exactly. Two totally different vibes there. One shuts it down, the other opens it up. The other is understanding and open, giving somebody time to really tell you what's going on.
Yeah, and by the way, curiosity doesn't mean that you and others agree with everything. It just means you're open to understanding before you react.
Exactly, and we all gravitate towards conformity, right? We all want to get along, and we want things to, most of us anyway, want to avoid confrontation, and we want that conformity. But actually, we need to build an environment where it's okay to challenge in a way that is better for the organization and that everybody is comfortable doing. So I think we'll take a short break here, George, and when we come back, we're going to take some questions from some of our viewers and listeners. Welcome back. Hopefully you found the what, the why, and the how insightful. Certainly more interesting than George discussing his favourite kids' TV shows and movies from back in the day. Now we're going to move on to some of your questions. The first one is from Simon in Brighton.
Yeah, and the question is, how do I show curiosity without seeming nosy or intrusive?
Yeah, that's a great question. How do I do this? For me, it's about tone and timing. So curiosity done well feels like you care about the person, that you're not interrogating them. You really want to know what's going on with them as well as the issue. So trying to open that conversation with something like, I'm trying to understand better, or can you tell me a bit more about this, or maybe what do you think? Those would be the ways I would lead into the conversation.
Yeah, and my build to that would be about body language as well. So curiosity works best when it feels relaxed and it looks relaxed. Not like, again, to use that clipboard analogy, not like you're about to pounce with a clipboard and a spreadsheet. Okay, so the next question is from Sarah in London.
That's right. Yep, I have it here. So Sarah asks, what if my team shuts down when I ask questions?
Yeah, so that might be, in my view, that might be a safety issue, psychological safety issue. So if your team doesn't trust your intent or the intent behind kind of the curiosity, even good questions can inadvertently feel threatening.
Yeah, absolutely. So on that one, Sarah, maybe you need to work on the trust piece first. So you build that trust, you demonstrate professional curiosity consistently so that the team know that you are asking questions all of the time, not just when something goes wrong and it's a kind of a witch hunt. Okay, We've got another one, and this is our final one from David in London.
Yep, so I've got that question. Thank you, David. So David says, I work in regulatory reporting. How can I stay curious when I'm under pressure to just deliver?
Yeah, look, we've all been there. You want to have the answer you want to look like. You've got that straight off the bat that you can, hit that question and really deliver an answer and react. Sometimes taking a moment, taking that pause and really stopping to think about the issue rather than jumping into your default answer can save a lot of trouble. We've certainly seen that, George, where, if somebody had that moment back again, we could have saved ourselves a hell of a lot of work and issues. So taking a pause, really checking in with yourself, if you actually do know the answer, or are you just kind of trying to save face?
Yeah, and David, I would just add, we've all seen when a decision is made without proper thought and analysis. We rush to an answer, or we try and run hard and fast at an answer, which can actually lead to a lot of work and effort needing to be unpicked down the line. So you might be getting to an answer or a solution quicker, but in the long run, it's not it's not the best answer. So I guess what we would say is curiosity isn't a detour. It's actually often the shortcut to the right solution.
Okay, so it's key takeaway time, George.
Yeah, so look, curiosity isn't soft, it's strategic. And as we've discussed in the past, it's about shifting from know-it-alls to learn-it-alls.
Exactly. It's the leadership skill that keeps your ego in check and your people engaged.
Yep, agreed. So thanks to everyone who sent in questions and has engaged with us. Please keep the topics and questions coming.
Yeah, exactly. Next time, we'll be unpacking our recent survey and the hot topics that have come out of that. We're really looking forward to getting into that. We've had some great responses. But until then, stay curious and maybe go and ask one more good question today.
So with that, thank you to everyone for watching and listening to Culture Conversations. And it's goodbye from him.
And goodbye from me.